Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I am here to talk about bearings. Uh, if you saw the video I uploaded yesterday, it shows you how to take your Kraton 8S apart down to the chassis, and then you will be left with a complete front end, your rear end, and the center motor module slash transmission. So I figured this would be a good time to go over the bearings. Now, I've already had the truck apart and the front and I had this everything apart, like so I kind of put half of it back together so that I can show you guys. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you exactly what bearings you're going to need if you want to go ahead and replace them. Now, this is not a necessity. Actually, I found that the stock metal shielded bearings did pretty well in the couple of runs that I ran them, and one of them was in snow. And I'll be honest, the 6S bearings, the stock ones, have seized up on me, getting them wet. These seem to be okay, but I did do a very good job of drying the truck. But if you want to go ahead and replace all the metal shielded bearings in here with rubber sealed, this is what you're going to need. And when I give you the bearing dimensions, it's inside diameter, outside diameter, and then the width. So just to show you guys on a bearing here, this is the inside diameter. The outside diameter is how wide it is this way, and then the width is how wide it is this way. All right, so what you are going to need is, first size is a 17 by 26 by 5. You're going to need 4 of those. Then you're going to need a 12 by 24 by 6. You're going to need 10 of those. Next size is a 15 by 26 by 7. You will need 4 of those, and just a heads up, those are expensive and kind of hard to find. Then you're going to need 8 by 16 by 5. You're going to need 2 of those. You're going to need a 6 by 16 by 5. You're going to need 1 of those. And lastly, you're going to need 6 by 10 by 3, and you will need 4 of those. There are some sort of bushing on the steering post, and I will show you that. I couldn't find a bearing that would replace them, and actually the steering on this is nice and free. So I don't think you really need to. And when you see them, you'll see why. But we're going to start with the front here, and basically what we're looking at is you got bearings in the hubs, the wheel hubs. You got bearings on the diff, and you got bearings in the bulkhead in here that go around the pinion gear. So this is a little different in terms of getting to your the ones that are in the bulkhead than the 6S trucks. Let me move this out of the way. So if you did not remove your front bumper when you took this off, do it now. All right, if you saw my video yesterday, mine was stripped out. It was a nightmare trying to get them out. I drilled the heads off. I still couldn't pry this thing off. Well, this is a new one. When you buy the skid plates, it comes in. It comes with 3. It comes with 2 fronts and a rear. This is the other front, so it's a little bit smaller. It's probably for a truck that they got coming in the future, would be my guess. As you work on these, you'll see there's a lot of extra holes in here that aren't used, in the towers, in the arms, I think, that are going to be for different trucks. So anyway, you're going to want to remove this. You're going to just take out the 2 screws in here, and when you put them back in, dear God, do not crank them down, because they actually thread into this metal here, and they just, it's easy to strip the heads. These are 2.5 millimeter screws, so be very careful. So get this off. Now the next thing you can do is you can remove the diff. So the diff comes out with, you need your 3 millimeter, and you're going to take out these 4 screws, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Whoops, don't do that either. It's not good for the heads. All right, put them aside, and then you're going to also need to remove this one larger hex right here. and this takes the 4mm. It's I cheated. It's kind of halfway out. And then you can get the case off. Now the case is on there pretty good, so you're gonna have to wrangle with it to get it off. I actually kind of used a screwdriver at one point to just kind of like pry it off. You can just kind of get it started on either end. All right, so I did a little bit of marring, not too bad. All right, and then you'll be able to pull the diff out. All right, as you can see, I only have 1/2 of this in, but so on here you're going to be using. You know, I'm not going to go through on how to take the diff apart. I'm assuming that if you have an 8S truck, you know how to work on a 6S truck, and it's the same. Slide these two bearings off, and these two bearings are where's my little piece of paper? The size on these are 12 by 24 by 6. All right, so those are 2 of your bearings right there. So we'll put this aside. Next, you're going to want, if you want to replace these 2 bearings that are in the bulkhead. Now there's one behind the giant pinion, and then there's one on this side. So what you need to do, actually we'll do that one last, because you need to remove, which is also different from the 6S trucks, you need to remove this pin brace back here, and then you need to remove this steering plate so that you can get this out. It's kind of more of a pain in the ass than it is on the 6S trucks. So next thing you're going to want to do is, I guess we can go ahead and remove this CVD and to get to these 2 bearings in here. All right, so it's 3mm to take out the grub screw that holds this pin over here. You guys can see that. All right, and mine's already loose. I had varying degrees of difficulty of removing these. Some were 2 of them came out real easy, and then the other 2 were Loctited in there pretty good. I had to heat it up with a torch. It's nice that you're using 3mm, but I'm not going to say it's impossible not to strip them, so be very careful. Pull this out, this off, this like this, put this over here. We'll put the grub screw loosely back in to the stub. Whoop. Over here. All right. Once you do that, you can then pop this off. All right, and then here's you got 2 bearings in here, just like the 6S trucks. All right, so you're going to replace these 2 bearings. All right, so the one that goes on the inside is 1726.5. And the one that goes, I believe, on the outside is the exact same one that goes on the diff. I'm almost positive it is. So that is going to be your... So you would put them in. And obviously, we're going to do this. You would do the same thing to the other side. I'm not going to go. I've already pulled the other side out, so we're not going to go ahead and show you that. Now we're going to go ahead and get to the 2 bearings in here. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to remove this pin brace. But in order to remove this pin brace, you're going to need to remove the 2 pins that go into it, that hold these upper arms on. So you're going to use your 3mm, and you're going to go ahead, you can see now there's an extra hole right here. I don't, again, with these towers, I mean, is this for other trucks? I have no idea, but just remember it's the inside hole. And there's a captured nut on the other side. So we'll pull that out. Get the captured nut to fall out. Do the same right here. Around. And then we're going to just pull these up and out of the way, like that. Now you can remove this steering arm over here. I already removed it on this side, and this is also a new design for this truck. So if you want to remove this, and I don't think you have to, but if for some reason you wanted to, you're going to first remove this nut. And that, I believe, is it's one of these, 7mm maybe. Yep, it's the 7mm size. So you remove that nut. You don't even have to worry about holding the other side, because this screw is actually threaded through this ball right here. So to get this screw out, and you got to be careful, I stripped the other side. You're going to need your, what the heck did I do with it? You would use your 2.5mm driver, and then you're going to use a, where did I put it? Right here. It is an 11mm socket, however you want to do, but it's going to fit over this right here so that you can hold it, and then you can just go ahead and back this out. I'm not going to do it because I don't think you really need to, but that's how you would get that off. All right, but it does thread, and it's easy to strip, and I think there's thread lock on it as well, which is why I stripped the other one. So I had to order that screw. I don't have one of those, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. All right, get this back on. All right, so now we're going to remove this pin brace. It's 3 hex screws, 3mm. Now be very careful when you pull this off, because there's 2 shims under here that might come off with it, and I'll show you where they are. So this comes off. There's 2 shims that sit on top of the steering post. Here, let me just get this out of the way. I'll try to bring it up to the camera to show you what I'm talking about. See if you can see this now. The lighting sucks. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm trying to look in my on screen here. Which way am I tilting it? This way maybe? There's 2 silver shims that sit on top of these steering posts. All right, so you can either pull them off with your fingernails first so that they don't go flying when you pull the steering post off, or you could just lift. They'll come off like this when you take the steering out. All right, I have them in my hands right now. I'm going to put them right here so I don't lose them. All right, and then these are the bushings that are on the steering post. Now, I don't think you're going to be able to find a bearing that's going to replace this. I really don't. I looked, couldn't find one, and I'm just going to keep these on there. So when you pull this off, they might still be stuck in the bottom of here, or they might stay on here. I'm going to actually take them off, put them over here, and then you can just put this out of the way. Now you can go ahead and remove this, because now that that's out of the way. So you're going to need that handy dandy little C-clip, I guess, remover. I don't know if they make these. I mean, I'm sure they do. You're probably going to want a better one than this. The plastic kind of flexes. This was kind of a pain in the ass to get off, and a pain in the ass to get back on, which I actually put this thing back on just so I could show you guys how to do this. I would have preferred to have left it off. So you just fit it in the 2 holes right there, and I squeeze all the way up here, make sure it stays in there, and then there you go. So you actually, once you do it once, I guess the clip flexes a little bit. It's probably not good, but it was much harder the first time. So we'll put that over here, and then once you do that, you'll be able to slide this whole CVD out. Well, let's see. I was able to get it through here, but if you want, I mean, probably the easy thing to do would just be to pull this bearing out like this, and then you can tilt it and get the angle to get it off. And then the other one is up here in the front. So these 2 bearings are those big. You're going to need only 4 of these. There's 2 in the front, and there's going to be 2 in the rear of the truck. These, like I said, are expensive. and they're kind of hard to find. I ended up paying, the ones that I got, the rubber sealed ones, I think were 13 bucks a piece maybe, and you have to get 4 of them. So these are the where is it? Okay, these are the 15 by 26 by 7s. So you're big, and these, you know, these seem like really nice bearings. And I'll be honest with you, there've been times when I replaced gearboxes on my 6S rigs, and I would get one from Jenny's, and it would come with the pinion already in there, and I wouldn't bother pulling out the pinion and to replace the 2 bearings that were in there. And one of them is a big one like this. The other one's smaller, but. And that big one that was in there never failed on me, and you know, when I ran them. So I got a feeling these are going to last, but if you want to replace them, that's the deal. So that's how you get to those. Now, while we have this out, you're going to need, there are more bearings in here, which I've already replaced. In these 2 arms, underneath these arms, in this piece right here, is going to be 2 more bearings, and those are the small ones. Those are the... okay, yeah, those are 6 by 10 by 3. And just to show you real quick how you get to them. And again, this is probably where it'd be a little easier if you had this removed. But you're going to just 3mm. You're going to take this hex bolt out. Come on. And then right here, you can see that bearing here, which I've already replaced. As you can see, it's rubber sealed. And then there's one that goes, it's actually stayed on this post. It's on the bottom here. So you're going to need 4 of those to replace these. There's 2 here and there's 2 over there. So there you have that. On. Right, and then you're just going to reverse everything to get everything back together. Once you get your, you know, all your bearings in there, you're just going to put everything back together. So I'm going to put these bushings back on the steering posts. Slide this back on. All right, and again, don't forget these 2 little shims. All right, put them right on top of the steering post. There. One here. Use a screwdriver just to fit them all the way down, or they'll just get pushed down when you put the, there we go. No bango. This goes back on. Now again, make sure you obviously put. I'm going to leave this off because I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be replacing these bearings. So before you put this back on, make sure you replace the bearings and put this back in. Otherwise, you're going to be screwed. All right, so I'm just going to put this on here. Also, make sure that this pin doesn't fall out on you. I mean, it's very possible that it will when if you're monkeying around with it. It will push out like that. And then there's also another little piece in the CBD right here. So you don't want to lose any of these. All right. And obviously, you don't want to lose that C-clip. Now, getting that C-clip back on, I'm not going to do it yet again. You know, once you get everything in there, you just got to fit it on there. And I used a like an Allen key and just pushed it on, kind of kept it centered and pushed it on, and it clipped back on. So I tried a screwdriver and ended up stabbing my finger a couple times, and after that I smartened up. Go ahead and put these back on real quick. When you go to put these back on, make sure they're facing the right way. You know, you got to get the right side up, and there's an Arrma logo on one side, not on the other. So the Arrma logo goes up. You don't want to lose this shim either. All right, and I actually did write down the dimension of the shim. The shim is 18 inside diameter, 24 outside diameter, and it's a 0.25 millimeters thick. Okay, one thing that I would like to mention, and this is totally up to you. When I go to put the diff back in, what I do is I leave the CVDs out and I fit the diff in. And I will have these two arms, the pins out and the arms out, and then I will go ahead, fit the CVD into the out drive. Then, you know, get it all lined up, put this back in and do it that way. You don't have to do that. You can have your CVDs flopping around and try to get each side in, you know, into your CVDs and then fit it in. I find that to be a giant pain in the ass. I never do it that way. This way is, for me, is much easier. So your choice on how you want to do that. So that's it for the front end. The rear is basically the exact. Rear is actually easier. So let me go grab a rear. Hold on. Now, as you'll see, I've already pulled all the stuff out of here. So what I would do is remove the rear bumper, which I've done. Then you could just take out the same five screws. It's identical. Pull your diff out, and those bearings on the outside of the diff are going to be the exact same as that was on the other ones. So there's two more of those that go right there. Then once that's out, you can go ahead and what I do is I remove, doesn't matter where you do it from, but you can just take a 3 millimeter, it's just a 3 millimeter driver. Take this off. And then you can pull the CVD out. You can pull your well, you got to take the hex off first. My bad. We take the hex off first, then you can pull it out, and then you would get your there's still bearings in here. I guess I didn't push this one out. This bearings again, same size, all right, as the ones that were in the front. Oops. All right, and then same spiel with the bulkhead here. You're going to remove the center CVD. You're going to pull everything out. These bearings, same size as the other one, same process, and it's nice. There's nothing, you don't have to take anything off to get to this one, so which makes this, you know, a lot easier. You know, and then you replace all your bearings. And again, I leave these two open. I fit my diff back in, put the cover back on, and then I will fit in my CVDs and then get them in there, line them all up. There's two holes on these rear hubs. It's the inside one that you want. All right, and then, again, don't lose the captured nut if you're picking this up and winging it around like a set of nunchucks for whatever reason. You don't want the nut to come flying out. All right, and get in here, and boom, that's that. Pretty simple and straightforward. So much easier, you know, than the front because there's less. It's less involved. All right, so that's that. And then the last place where you're going to encounter bearings is going to be in your center. In the center transmission module here. So first thing you're going to do is if you followed what I did yesterday, you're still going to have one of these braces on over here. Take that off. And you're going to need, because you're going to need to get to this screw right here at some point. So just take it off and get it out of the way right now. So you're going to take a 2 millimeter driver and you're going to take this cover off right here. All right, put that over there. It's worth noting that all of the diffs have a rubber gasket that goes around right here. You're going to need to pull it off here because you're going to separate this, and the gasket's going to be hanging off, or you don't want to risk tearing it. And on the front and the rear, I actually, when I was shoving the, I told you I can pull the front off or the rear off without taking off the skid. It was so tight that I ended up tearing the rubber gasket, so I have some of those on order. So you want to just remove these and put them in a safe place while you're working on this. Anyway, so once you get that off, then you're going to want to go ahead and open up the case here. And that's going to be 3 millimeters, and there's 5 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh man, that's so annoying. All right, and then you just kind of work this off, and away it goes. All right. Now here is your center diff, and you can see I'm missing a screw. I'm waiting for one of these. These screws are used in all the diffs, and they are a funky dimension. They are, I want to say, M3.5 by 16. So these are metal. The case, let me pull this out. I might have to push from the other side to get this out, but come on. All right, there you go. There's 2 halves to it. You can see I busted 2 screws. These are metal cases, and they use Loctite, and a good amount of it on here. So even though I heated it up, I thought it was coming out, and it just snapped the head right off. I actually ruined the case. I had to get a new case. It was no fun whatsoever. So be very careful when you're taking these out. So you're going to replace these 2 bearings here, same size as the front and the rear diffs. I don't have that piece of paper, and I don't have it memorized. But and when you go to take this apart, I would suggest, first of all, remember that one side's got these little plastic spacers right here. See if you can see them. Plastic spacers. All right. That's the side that goes down when you're looking at it like this. All right. As tempting as it is to remove, this side and do the bearing and then put it back and then remove this side, these spacers, it took me a while to figure out how to get them back in there. It's just a pain in the ass. So I would just leave one side alone and just take it apart the way you would do a normal, the other diffs, and just make believe that this doesn't come off. So you're going to replace those. And again, when you're doing these bearings, do your fluids. You don't want to go through this whole thing and then be like, oh shit, 2 days later be like, I want to change my my fluids because you just had this stuff all apart. So do all this stuff at the same time. So you take that out of the way, and then here are the last of your bearings. So you got those 2 there. Now, the other bearings, there's one, actually it might have stayed in the case. It did. This one is, let me get it out here. There's 2, you're actually going to use 2 of this size. All right, so this normally would sit right like that. Sits on top of this gear right here, one of these reducing gears. And that is, that is 8 by 16 by 5. All right. So there's going to be 2 of those. Here's the first one. I'm going to actually put it back here in the case. And again, I've already replaced this. This is actually a common size. It's I use it in my other Arrmas, so I had those, which was nice. All right, pull this gear off. Now again, you can see one side's got a lip on it, one side doesn't. Just I'm really, if you think you're going to forget, take pictures. That's what I do. So anyway, I'll put that down like that, and then now you have to remove this case, which is real simple to do. It is just 3 screws, 1, 2, and 3, and they are, I believe, 2.5 millimeter. And again, it's the only screws you're going to really see on this side. Right, and once you do that, bingo, this comes off. So you can see the other bearing is in here. and that's the same size as the one that's in here. This single bearing is the one that is different. It is actually smaller. It is a 6 by 16 by 5 as opposed to the 8 by 16 by 5. So, and you need to take this off to get to that bearing. So, what I did is I just used, where the heck did I put it? Yeah, so this nut is 7mm. This has got a nice flat spot on here, so you can just fit something like that on there. Put your 7mm on, loosen that up. There comes your bearing. You can see the hole is, let me, do I have another one? I don't know where the stock one went, but just the inside diameter is different. That's the only difference. That's so then this would come off, and then you could then pull this out and replace that bearing, which I already have done. All right, and then you just would put it all back together. There. I'm waiting. I had to order one of these. I didn't have one of these, which was a bummer. Gear. Bearing. Nut back on. Quit whining. All right. And then this is the only little, kind of a little bit of a tricky part. Not terribly tricky, but you need to fit this bearing into here and get these. There we go. Like that. And just make sure it spins nice and free, which it does. All right, and then you can just go ahead and put your 3 screws that holds that case on back in. All right. And then this goes on like this. Remember that that side goes up, and then you can either take this bearing off and put it on there and fit the case on, or just do like this. Nope. Of course you would want to make sure your diff is back in there. And like I said, plastic little pieces right here, that side goes down. All right, beautiful. And like this, and then you put these in. This is the 3mm. All right, and don't forget your little cover. Just goes like this. And there you have it. Just don't forget to put your rubber gasket back in when you're going to finally put this back in your truck. So those are all the bearings in this truck. I would imagine you would probably want to set aside, well, not including the first part where you're disassembling the truck, but I mean, I can disassemble the truck like I did in the video, my other video, probably in about, I don't know, a half hour, maybe a little less. And then I would, to do all the bearings, I would probably set aside a couple hours to do this. You know, you want to go slow the first time. You want to take pictures of anything that you think you might forget. And, you know, that's that. And then, you know, there you'll have, you know, everything you need, and you'll have, you know, rubber sealed bearings if that's the way you want to go. I'm going to do rubber sealed bearings. just because. But I don't think if you don't want to spend the money for those big ones that go into the gearboxes, I don't blame you. And I got a feeling those are going to last a while. So even if you buy the metal shielded ones from Arrma, they're kind of expensive. I think a pack of 2 was like $20. So anyway, guys, I hope this helps you. I mean, I don't do a lot of these videos, so I'm not as polished as some of the other guys, but you know, I'm just trying to help you guys out. You know, we're all in this together type of thing. So, you know, if I can save you from screwing something up like I did the first time, you know, I'll feel good. So anyway, guys, I will see you in my next video. Peace.